My pleasure right now to welcome a special guest to KCCK. Paul Lichty is with us. Paul's a trombonist, got a new CD out, a performance coming up at First Friday Jazz. Welcome, Paul. Nice to see you.
It's great to be here.
So we're going to play a little bit and hear the story behind the social media suite over the next few minutes. But before we do that, tell me the Paul Lichty story. You're an Iowa native.
Yep. I was originally born in Waterloo and grew up in Hudson, Iowa, the mighty small town of Hudson, Iowa. Graduated there and then went to University of Northern Iowa.
So you did not stray too far from home to go to college.
Correct. Well, I mean, what made me want to go to UNI was just seeing UNI Jazz Band 1 just down the street as a high schooler. I'm like, well, I don't need to stray very home because there's a great program just right down the road.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
And of course you had, your major was?
It was in music education, actually.
Okay.
And I didn't really start composing really until my junior year when I started taking the jazz arranging classes with Washut and Mertz, and so all the composing I started to do was primarily extracurricular. But then it started to take up more and more and more of my time, and a little bit, probably should have practiced more trombone than write music, but it just developed a new passion, and it was fun. So.
So was songwriting something that you had always wanted to do and just never really sat down, or was it something that reared its head once you started really focusing on music in college?
It was all college. If you were to have asked me, going in as a freshman, whether or not I would ever be writing any music at all, I'd be like, I don't know. I've got no intentions of doing that. I just want to try to get good at my instrument. That was my first goal. But then, it wasn't until I started taking the courses that I really started to like it and started to pursue it seriously.
So you definitely have a theme to this release. It's called the Social Media Suite, and all 9 cuts, each of them are inspired by a different kind of social media.
Yep, exactly. The impetus for this project started from a big band chart that I wrote my 5th year at UNI. It was called Tinder Madness, and it was inspired by a Tinder date that I went on that went really horribly wrong. And
it's so tempting to ask more about that, but we'll just move on.
Yeah, right. I appreciate that because I'm really tired of telling that story. But after that, the idea popped into my head. It's like, that'd be actually kind of cool to write maybe a tune about my thoughts on Facebook and Twitter and all these different platforms. And so that's kind of how this album came to be. When I graduated, I started work, instead of going into music education, I started work as a cruise ship musician. And that was really great because when you work that job, you have a lot of free time. And one of my goals, once I started working on cruise ships, within a couple of years, I wanted to release an album of original music. And I thought that would be kind of a cool concept to start writing for and to put together. So there's a tune inspired by Reddit and LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter and Snapchat, and they're all tunes written for sextet. So you have piano, bass, drums in the rhythm section, and then trombone, trumpet, and then both alto, tenor, and soprano sax. Chris Mertz plays all 3 on the album. So yeah, it's really cool.
So interesting that you spent your time writing this while you were on the cruise ship, and it's all about social media, and anybody who's taken a cruise knows that the internet is terrible on cruise ships. So so you were writing about social media at a time when you were kind of in exile.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I guess I really didn't think about that. I mean, one of the best things actually about being on the ship is the fact that you kind of are, away from all that stuff. And so, I guess I hadn't really thought about that, but the internet on the ship was just so horrible. Horrible, especially if you were part of the world, if you were doing an ocean crossing and there's just no chance to have decent Wi-Fi. Yeah, wonderful.
So you are going to be headlining at First Friday Jazz with this sextet coming up on August 2nd. Yep. So let's talk about the members of the band. Several of them most all of them are familiar to us here at KCCK.
Sure. Yeah, the individuals who will be playing, it's slightly different than the album personnel just due to scheduling things, but the people who will be playing at the Opus Concert Cafe, in addition to me, will be Chris Mertz. It's always a huge pleasure to have him play with this group. He was my primary composition teacher at UNI, and it's always just such a joy to hear him play my music. And he's been probably the biggest supporter of my music than of anyone that I've ever played with. So that'll be really fun. Rishi Caluso, he's the trumpet player on the album as well. He's he just graduated from UNI. He'll be a band director in the Waukee School District here this upcoming year. He has a great first teaching gig there.
That doesn't stink at all.
Right, yeah, he'll be doing elementary band in the Waukee District. But yeah, I've been playing in ensembles with him for a very long time. Then we got Jarrett Purdy, of course, Iowa City piano extraordinaire, playing piano with us. Chris Jensen on the drums, and then Bridget Shoemaker on bass. So yeah, that'll be the ensemble playing.
Yeah, I saw Bridget. She was in another ensemble. It must have been Gerardo's maybe.
Possibly,
few months ago.
Cool.
at First Friday Jazz.
Yeah,
excellent. Now there's also a big band, a Paul Lichty big band.
Yeah,
then that's another ensemble that plays your original compositions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
talk just a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah, the Paul Lichty Jazz Orchestra is I guess known as PLJO for short. Interesting, when I first got into jazz composition, I actually really dug big band writing more than small group writing, which is a little atypical, especially when you're first starting out as a composer. So this sextet album, stretched me in some interesting ways, not having like all those voices immediately available. But anyway, so I really, really love big band writing as well. And we recently recorded an album. It was about a month ago up at the Jazz Studio at UNI, and it really is an amazing band filled with some really, really incredible musicians. I mean, you've got people, really some of the finest musicians across the state playing in this group. You got a lot of the same sextet people, including Bridget, Jarrett, and Chris Jensen. You got Nolan Schrader, Michael Conrad, Brian Crew, Antonio Garza, Gabe Scheid. Most of these people are alumni of the UNI jazz program. Everyone except for two, actually. So it's kind of like a who's who of the jazz program in the past few years. And there's a few guest soloists who appear on the album, including Dave Rezick, Ryan Garmo, and Blake Shaw. And we just got together, recorded 8 of my original big band compositions, and that album will be scheduled to release about a year from now. Not everything's recorded yet. I have to do a few overdubs coming up here in August, and then the session's going to be sent over to New Zealand and mixed and mastered by Dave Lissick, who is got his master's at UNI back in the 90s, and it was interesting. He just offered to mix and master the album for free. Like, I can't turn that down. He's a professor over at the Victoria University in Wellington, New Zealand, and I met him when the ship was in New Zealand. We just stayed in contact, and then he had been kind of following, what I was doing back home, and offered to do that. So that's one of the reasons why it's going to take a little while to get the album out.
Well, there's another reason too, because after spending your whole life in more or less in Black Hawk County, you're headed off to grad school out of state.
Yes. Exactly. So I am going to the University of Oregon in about 2 months to start a 2-year master's program in jazz composition. I'm finally I'm going to be majoring in jazz composition after doing all this stuff. Yeah, it was really cool. I'll be working as a graduate assistant, and I really love the Pacific Northwest. It's beautiful out there, and I'll be studying with Steve Owen, who is, ever since I heard his big band album called Stand Up 8, about 5 years ago or so, I've just loved his writing, so it's going to be really exciting to be able to study with him. So, and I might be coming back maybe in the summers to
Well, hopefully we'll get a couple of gigs with the Jazz Orchestra to celebrate the release of the CD next year.
That would be awesome.
Well, like I said, after spending all your life in Northeast Iowa, and then you saw the world as a part of the Cruise Orchestra, and now off to grad school, you've packed a lot in the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to think about, but I guess so.
Well, the new CD is called Social Media Suite, and you'll be performing selections from it at First Friday Jazz, which is, it's a week from Friday.
my, yeah.
August 2nd coming
Better
up.
start practicing.
That's right, coming up already, and looking forward to hearing this music live. Now, if people like the CD, I'm sure you'll have copies of the gig, but you can also download it directly or purchase it if you like. How do you do that?
You can purchase it on CD Baby, Amazon Music, Apple Music, or through my website as well. Or you can just contact me directly through my website at paulichtymusic.com.
All right. Well, Paul, thanks so much for coming in today. Good luck with the CD. We'll look forward to seeing you on the 2nd, and also good luck as you head off to grad school. And
Thanks so much.
Look forward to hearing about it when you get back.